Yo, today we're going to be continuing on with our Borderlands Summer, and today we're going to be looking at some topics within Borderlands 4, and I just want to give my 2 cents on some of these different topics, and that would be pearlescence within Borderlands 4, drop rates for legendaries, and just items in general within Borderlands, because that seems to be a very hot topic right now, and also the potential level cap within BL4. The skill trees are vastly different than anything we've seen so far in a Borderlands game. So we could see a very different level cap, at least at launch, than what we're used to. And I just want to talk about kind of the different areas of each and kind of walk through them. So let's start off with pearls. Right now, at launch of Borderlands 4, there are no signs of pearls being within the game. In the most recent deep dive that they released, they did say legendaries are the highest rarity, and there's like a new triangle system to kind of signify rarity. It could also potentially be signifying the parts, but parts are also kind of tied to rarity. Higher rarity, the more parts an item can have, according to them. So those triangles seem to be maxing out on the legendaries. Now, I will say the one good thing about that it is scalable. They can always add an extra triangle. So potentially, maybe this is my opinion of what they're going to end up doing is they will add pearlescence at the end of year 1. So those first DLCs will come out, that first cycle, and then year 2 is going to come around, and then that's when they're going to be adding pearls. I think it will get a lot of people excited about the game again, and it'd be a really good strategy for them as just a game to be doing that. It will keep interest much longer, because right now, there really is no need for a pearlescent. All it's going to do at the end of the day is just be a different color. Now, there are some things that they can do to make them, a pearl, make them different than a legendary, but that's going to be pretty hard to do because you don't want it to completely phase out legendaries. You don't want everybody just running pearls because then it's just the exact same thing. It's just a different color. It's not going to be orange. It's going to be that pearlescent blue. So there are some areas that they do need to keep in mind. So for me, if I was to make a pearl in Borderlands 4, it's going to need to have set parts because it needs to be rare. Pearls need to be rare finds. They can't be dropping even as much as the legendaries that they said that they're going to be making rare again in Borderlands 4. They need to be very special drops and they need to be powerful. But that powerfulness needs to be just for a specific thing. You can't have it just completely negating legendaries as a whole. So it has to be either super powerful for just one specific area, can't do everything, and then or they need to make it so like Destiny's exotic system where you can't have just an entire loadout of pearlescents. That way you still have a use for legendaries, but you can still have that peak extra power from a pearlescent. So that is very important that they keep that balance, which honestly is a really good thing that they're not going to be in at launch, because that way we can kind of get the general sense of what the meta is going to be for Borderlands 4, and then they can design pearls around the different areas that the game needs to be balanced around, and that way they can fit them in where they need to. There is maybe a small chance that they are trying to throw us off and the pearls are in the game at the very start from whatever end game activity that we're going to have, but I would not count on that in any way, shape, or form. I think that's major copium. I mean, I would huff that copium, but right now I do not think that is something that they're going to be doing. I do think that's going to be something that they add later on within the game. So this does kind of tie us into the next point I want to be addressing, and that is drop rates within Borderlands 4. Like they said in the deep dive, they want to make legendaries feel rare again, because in Borderlands 3, they dropped too much. I actually recently started a new character in Borderlands 3, and I've gotten quite a few legendaries already, and they just completely trivialize the entire campaign. The moment I found one, I started one-shotting everything. It's completely unfair, so it would be really nice to have them be special again, and also there's a whole balancing issue, and that stems from the Mayhem system in Borderlands 3, but at launch of Borderlands 4, that hopefully should not be an issue. But anyways, right now in the current trend of Borderlands games, so Borderlands 3, Wonderlands, and such, right now drop rates are really bad with the amount of passives and things like that on an item. Right now, drop rates can range from the 1 in millions to, if not billions in some cases, in Wonderlands, which was really bad. So that part needs to be toned down significantly. there is no, like, that is just essentially unachievable in a human lifetime, which should not exist. You should have be able to have an end game like goal for your build. It should be obtainable. If it's not, you're gonna stop playing. There's no point in continuing to just beat your head against the wall for literal years of your life to just get like that perfect item. That should not exist. I know they shouldn't be necessary, and they probably won't be necessary, but you still should be able to finish a build in the way that you would like to within a human lifetime. That's just a fact. Like, for example, the 94 Sham, which many people still love that chase. They think it's a really rare drop and everything like that. That is a 1 in 9,000 chance. And right now we're looking at chances in the 1 in millions to billions. Just think of how big of a difference that is. Like, numbers growing exponentially like that is a massive difference in drop rate. So 1 in 9,000 being extremely rare, like that should be like a good baseline for the rareness of items. So just keep that in mind when you think you want that 1 in million/billion drop chance. I promise you don't. It is horrible for a game like Borderlands. Now, if they are going to keep that like 1 in millions/billions category with all of the different passives that our gear can roll, we are going to need some sort of reroll system. So like in Borderlands 3, we had the anointment reroll. Everybody hated anointments, especially since they were necessary and you couldn't reroll them at launch. Now, they eventually added that reroll system, and that was much better. I would like to see kind of a system like that. It wouldn't be crafting. It would be literally just one passive. Say you're like one thing off. You can reroll that until you get the one that you want. Obviously, there'd be like a currency system for it and so on, so it's not completely free. But that would be a really nice option and really help decrease that overall drop chance of, because you can just basically negate one of the layers of RNG, which would be very helpful and really tone down that insane drop chance that we're currently looking at within the Borderlands. Because at the end of the day, it is a game. They do need to respect a player's time. Right now, that's been one of my like biggest things in games. It feels like a lot of the times the player's time is not respected. They just want you to be playing for as long as possible, and they think just endless grind or just annoyances is the way to do that. And I can tell you that is not the case. It did not work for games like Diablo. They do need to respect the player's time. The more they do that, the more the players will play. I promise. The last thing I want to talk about is something that I've been talking about a lot with other Borderlands creators and kind of getting their opinions. But that is the at launch level cap, and then eventually by the end of the game's life cycle, what our final level cap will be, because our skill trees are way, way different than in previous games. Right now, it's going to take a lot of points to get down to multiple capstones. So right now, how the game is going to be working is you get like a central skill tree for your action skill, and that's going to take 15 points to get through. Then you unlock 3 separate smaller trees underneath it, and then from there, those are going to be spec'd differently. Like if you're putting points in the right tree, you're not going to make progress in the middle and left tree. You're going to have to put 5 points into each of those respectively to move down their trees. So right now, if you just wanted the one capstone from one of the trees, that's still just like 26 points, something that we're used to. Then if you want the second capstone still within under the same action skill, that's going to be 37 points, and so on if you want the third. But then there are 2 other action skills which change the entirety of that tree. When you swap over to like the blue or the red, say you're on the green, like they were showing in the deep dive for Vex, if you swap over to that blue or the red tree, you have to start over all over again. So you're going to need a lot of points to reach multiple capstones. And I'm not sure if that's going to be in there at launch, but right now I would really like to see at launch a level cap of about 60 or so. That would make it so you can get all 3 capstones under one action skill if you just want to full send that one skill tree, or you can get 2 capstones, one from your action skill tree, then one from a different action skill tree. I think that would end up working out really well and still give you some extra flex points. And also, a lot of the capstones, at least that we've seen so far, are not just like 1 point items. So there are like the capstones, I guess what that they're calling it now, which are kind of like augments for your action skill. Those are next to what we have normally always called the capstones, which are actual like skill point investments. They're not like 1 out of 1s. They can be out of 5. So you are going to need a little bit of flex points, which is why I think 60 is a really good point for us to be launching at. Then if they do decide to do level cap increases, they can do about like roughly 10 levels. I think that would make it like more worth the actual investment of the player going and needing to get new gear. Small level cap increases are kind of annoying, make it more worth the player's time with a gap of about like 10 or so. Then if they do that twice, we'll end up around 80. I think that would be like a good ending spot by the end of the game's life cycle, because you don't want too many skill points. You may think that having a lot of skill points is good for build diversity because you can spec into more things. But what ends up happening when you have too many skill points is you can just grab the best of everything, and every build is just going to look exactly the same. There's no more trade-offs. There's no more diversity. So it is very important to have a good balance of skill points. And I think that 60 at launch, giving 2 increases of 10 to end up around 80, I think would be perfect for Borderlands 4. But yeah, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on Pearl's drop rates and the level cap within Borderlands 4. And I want to also hear from you guys. So let me know down in the comments what you think about these different topics. If you want to see Pearls at all, what you want them to do if they do eventually add them, or what your thought are on drop rates are. That's honestly like the biggest thing that I see people talking about right now. There's people who don't want to farm at all. There's people who want those 1 in billions chances. They think that's like perfect for the game. I'm definitely in the middle ground of things should be rare, but still obtainable and be able to be perfect after the player invests enough time. But once again, I would love to know what you guys think down in the comments. But thank you for watching this far in the video. I really do appreciate it. Happy Borderlands Summer. We're going to be back with more Borderlands content here very soon. I want to be doing some fun things like, for example, I'm trying to set up Borderlands GeoGuessr with some other Borderlands creators, so that should be a fun video if we ever get around to it. But yeah, hopefully you guys are subscribed if you want to see that. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. See ya.